Hello guys, this is Jerry speaking. Welcome to Book Reviews, episode 15, and today I read you chapter 14 in this book called Street Gang. So let's read it now and see what we got, shall we? See what we got. Let's see. I was not on 7 anymore, we're on 14, but anyway, let me go ahead and just see here. We're not on 15 yet. No. Stop that. Okay, I see what's going. Okay. No. Stop. Right here. Up until it's June 21. Okay. Okay. That's where I'm at. Okay. Chapter 14. On November 10th, 1969. Excuse me, I misspoke. Whatever. Sesame Street finally debuted. Triumph of, Brian Command Street, and element, geometry, physics, okay? Every thought that had contributed into its creation, all the civic activity, over 45 months, starting after their session at the Cooney Dare Party, was processed, analyzed, modified, and finally transmitted back to the children's like Sarah Marset. Wow. Preschooler who got his started with a click of the on-off switch in 1965. At 4 p.m. on debut day, a celebrity VIP screen of the first show was held in the private room in the Essex house in Manhattan. Fred Friendly, Mike of the Ford Foundation, attended. Wow. As did the Corporation Public Broadcasting Chairman Frank Pace and Mike Dan at CBS. Wow. During the screen, Dan kept glancing at his watch, Serbian communicator. He was merely keeping his eye on the time, so as not to miss a 5:31 Greenwich, but it was Gretcher the Strays Cooney. Wow. While the end of credits roll, Pace raced up to her. Congratulations, he said. Excuse me. This is the most important thing since the discovery of the atom bomb. Wow. Dan bolded for Grand Central as the rest of the group repaired to the lounge. When the bartender handed us our drinks, Lloyd Marset and I locked eyes. Cooney said, "Joel," he said, "we did it." As I said it, and I said, "Yes, we did." I felt as through I could excel at for the first time in months. Wow. Afterward, FCC Chairman Dean Birch, Joe's close classmate, and one-time Bill from her University of Arizona days, joined the Cooneys for dinner and drinks. Finally, the big day was over. I got home exhausted, hopefully happy with the slightly awareness that somehow we had pulled off something much bigger than just a nice children's show, she said. But later that night, Tim went out at a bender. Wow. And after I realized it was gone, I never went back to sleep. Came home at 8:30 in the morning, and then went to bed. 2 weeks later, I turned 40. Wow. I gave Tim gave me a surprise birthday party in the nearby Japanese restaurant. Wow. I was happy that night, and it marked the moment when Tim's downward spiral began. Wow. Honest from Sesame Street echoed from mom to Maine. It was quickly became the rare children's show. Step with parental approval. The switchboard to Boston's public television, WGBH in Boston. Wow. Far more than 600 calls committed Sesame Street in more than 2,000 letters of application reached the station. Wow. I didn't know what the success for Matt. But I knew we had it, Cooney said. Wow. Newsday recounted that sources of Gurley newspaper and magazine stories reported that now Mrs. Cooney's in workshop were conveyed onto the heads of conferring heroes. Wow. After only 2 weeks on the air, the New York Times critic Jeff Gold predicted when the Educational Testing Service of Accreditation New Jersey completes its analysis in the months to come, Sesame Street would prove it to be far more than an initial television program. On a large scale, the country's reward may be a social document of infinite value of an education. Valley way to pronounce this word. Social workshops executive director at St. John's Jones, on the Harvard headline, Sesame Street, one kind, Wes Brown, Valley's television industry report hailed Sesame Street as one of the few shows in memory that lived up to his audience babyhood. Babyhood. Wow. And it's apologists of education through the show business, and anyone who thinks it was only for small fry ought to be a given hour. Wow. The show's moves, so does the diverse, dazzles, amuse, and affect, and its capacity causes of the things it teaches the very young basic human values, the meaning of numbers and the alphabet, and social solutions of simple problems. Brown support the show rating up to a 3.3 material raise in the second week. Wow. Translating to 1.9 million households. Wow. And then remarkable Nielsen number, given that Sesame Street reached only 67.6% of the nation in the time, and it viewers in some key metropolitan areas, including Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. Wow. Had to watch it on the UHF stations. Brown concluded if commercial television may be like to Broadway and not commercial TV off Broadway to off Broadway, Sesame Street is a clear cut off Broadway hit. Wow. Los Angeles Times television critic Cecil Smith recounted how he attend an advanced screen of Sesame Street, seated beyond three children. A boy about 6 stuck up his palm in his mouth, and second, completely absorbed in everything he saw. A girl, maybe 5, was brutally and insensitive, but a little sister, possibly 3, soon got restless, more interested in the people around her than both these on the screen. That's a Nissan station rate of 66.6, which ain't bad. Wow. Anyway, those course of phrase continued for the year. Teaching controversial in the November 23rd, 1970 issue of Time, the weekly yardstick of the Zieglers. On its cover was Big Bird, who has got a makeover for season 2, returned after hiatus with a shorter break. White Eyes and a Dandelion. Wow, next page. Boom. Clowning his head. The viewers watching new episodes in the fall of 1970, it was as if Big Bird had skills ugly duckling Glaucus over the summer. Wow. Time devoted 9 pages to assessing the show's impact and importance, asking with a proportion of aims, a confusion of techniques, how could such a show possibly succeed, answer, especially well. Wow. Writer Stefan Camphor provided a tick list of reasons to support his confession that Sesame Street is not only the best TV children's show in television history, it was one of those best parent shows as well. Highlights in the show is read by critics on the marquee. Number 1. As Marjorie's plan as a semester at medical school. Number 2. Black like a government bomb. Marjorie like a Broadway musical. Number 3. Catches the preschool almost before this Scotty does it is as popular with well-to-do kids as it will with the Storm Dweller. Number 4. Learning scenes of almost a fun. And number 5. The switch on of shows teaches its audience the cost of almost about a penny, wow, per child. A bargain, says Dr. Benjamin Spock, if I ever saw one. Anyway, quote elsewhere, Spock predicted such well-conceived television would result in better trained physicians. Wow. Fewer employees, portables, in the next generation, fewer people on welfare, and smaller jail for the populations. This is high praise indeed from the man who, at the time, was reserved at the nation's baby doctor. Wow. The show is not just a boom to kids and parents, but it's also a triumphal triumph for the program's aired in the season. Sesame Street was won a Peabody Award, 3 Emmys, and the top honor from the Prix Journeys Foundation as international body formed in 1964 to promote its excellence in children's television. Even the president said Senator Fenlayer, January 28, 1970, Dear Mrs. Cooney, the many children and families now preferring from Sesame Street are parliaments in one of the most promising experience in the history of the medium. Wow. The Children's Television Workshop certainly deserves the high praise and the being getting from young and old, like in every concert corner of the nation. The administration of is administratively committed to open up opportunities for every youngster, probably during start his first 5 years of life. But it is pleased to be among the sponsors of your distinguished program. Sincerely, the President of the United States, who came in 1973's Watergate hearings with Robert and Jim, Richard Nixon. Okay. Cooney was administrated with attention press requests with endless. She said, we were going in 1970 and it was a women's movement where it was becoming a very big thing in America. There were very few women to make fuss about. No one said why we're making so much of her. Oh wow. Even here, the man was resent each other, getting pressed have less resentment of me, getting pressed. I begged Bob Hatch and get the press to interview anybody but me, and the press would as I physically insulted that Dave Connell sit with me, and that he would be quoted in the article. Even it was a profile of me. There was no way to get Jerry Lester involved. Wow. No reporter cared about the comic advisor. It was so too focused on St. John, and that became a way of doing the story. We have Look magazine retailing me around, going to be to go to hearings with me. Working with Washington connections, Bob Hatch have arranged for Cooney to testify before congressional hearings on children on television. Even before Sesame Street debuted, we were a Washington presence, Cooney said, at one edition education conference held in D.C. Cooney shared a platform with Bob Keeshan. Wow. Of Captain Kangaroo. He exhorted the audience to back her 100%. Wow. But he couldn't resist getting her a little dig. Wow. Yeah, and D-I-G. Yeah, whatever that means. I know she had the best possible staff to do the job, he said. She stole them all from me, and that was sad. And I disagree with Captain Kangaroo at this point. But anyway. Keeshan used to drive me crazy, can we recall. He greatly resented Sesame Street, and was because of him I determined to have multiple hosts on the show. I never wanted anyone to own it or be able to blackmail me or for higher wages. That the whole concept of how we ran things must have outraged him. And I agree with Cooley big time. Anyway, so Sesame Street was about your entirely greeted with huzzas. Even before Thanksgiving feast was served that November, certain educators um, who were opposed of traditional classroom methods were fine experts of a series objectionable or even threatening kindergarten teachers began to wonder of what we can do, use their time-tested lesson plan would be if students arrived at the fall having already mastered the alphabet, counting, sorting, and identifying geometric shapes, and knowing the difference between near and far, around and over, under and through. Next page. Okay. In 1970, Walter Long told a reporter about the encounters that she had um, while addressing a group at the Massachusetts University. Walter described one man, um, um, presumably an educator. Wow. Who asked her what he was supposed to be to do with his lesson plans. If children start coming to school already, no. Wow. Knowing letters and numbers, she told him if you felt threatened, okay. I think you needed more creative schools of education. I would hate to see a teacher view Sesame Street as a threat of an enemy flapping in an alley. Wow. Thoughtful criticism of Sesame Street, but also began to bubble up from that segment of a Mia Ferris and critical critics that was renowned, but it was now odd awareness of television. Sesame Street's rapid pace and high entertainment quality were roundly serenation. Way you pronounce it. Wow. As his landmark 1985 book, Among Ourselves to Death, Neil Postman argued that parents embraced Sesame Street because it revealed them on their responsibility to reach their children to read. Wow. I'm speechless at this point. But anyway, the series In His Eyes provided children a questionable introduction to an amusement assess culture and undermine American education. That Sesame Street was subject to such serious reviews, and that the project had set it to the level of importance not usually associated with children's television. It made Sesame Street a topic worthy of deluxe, something that could not be said for, say, Huckleberry Howe. Wow. I thought there would be my reaction, Cooney said, while I was felt that the television critics would understand what we were trying to do. I was very concerned that teachers and educators would not. Wow. And because Conrad's early childhood people didn't like what we were doing at all. Preschool at Sorority Charles Barrier of the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education, Toronto, whom Joan Cooney had while researching the original accessibility study way in on the pages of the Wall Street Journal that the morning after the premiere. He complained that we have seen that Sesame Street was to remove from structured teaching and warned that the show could flop because it's based entirely on audience appeal. That was not really teaching anything in particular. Wow. There are other decision voices. One, Erie Buffenbayer, a team professor of biology at Cornell University and as a co-founder of Head Start, questioned the show's chronology, the children on the show, and charming, spoken, cooperative, clean, and well behaved. All the adults there are no cross words, no conflict, no difficulties, not nor for the matter any obligations or visible attractions. They are old and ugly, and they are wanted is simply made into the disappeared from the manhole. Okay. Number 2 is Frank Garfunkel, professor of education at Boston University and director of the Head Start Innovation and Research Center. Attacked the series in the university's MOA magazine, claiming that it relied on the my evaluation and put a nose around the ability of children to engage in simulations and develop thoughts, and ain't claim that Sesame Street is a major educational and or media evaluation in public areas, we pronounce it. The values impact the form of conflict, security, 3 R's, and with a mix of bag of dressing are traditional. The image of Sesame Street as a unique vanguard of educational experience is a range. Number 3, Maria Pierce, Dean of Chicago Yorkson Institute for Early Education, concluded that Sesame Street Force B's fact doesn't give the child a chance to conjecture to solve problems, to be creative. Number 4, leading education writer Arnold. You see, two difference. Arnold, okay. With among the first to suggest to watching Sesame Street might actually be determinal that its rage to target excuse me, I misspelled, but anyway, to its target audience. It has been creative. I found it helps to its improvement to improving the education of poorly children may be harmful to them. Number, where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Number 5. In child education magazine, Minnie P. Burson, director of an education and experimental programs for young children, New York State University College from India, objected they claim that the shows could teach. Why debate that they are conforming teaching with phony pedagogy? Wow. Anyway, Walter slideshows, Batty, and layers of smoke and fog to call the eager minds of small children. That is sad. Her suggestion: tap some of the marvelous artist teachers in nursery schools and kindergarten to teach on TV. Wow. And number 6, Chicago Sun-Times television critic Ron Powers of why fanatic of gesture viewed the range of responses to Sesame Street, which with high installment. If Sesame Street is the most successful show on television, is also the most analyzed, criticized, debate, debunk, championized, view with alarm, point on the pride, misinterrupted, upbraided, and over-interrupted media event since William Randolph Hearst declared war in Spain. Wow. I did not know that. Anyway, Children's Sales Workshop Corp response to such criticism was measured and non-confrontational to reflection of the style preferred by Cooney and Republic Relations Advisor Hatch. But primate it purposely pronounce it, especially for the season reasonable. First, you can't be saintly all the time, and mainly maintain the interest of the press. Hatch said. Second, if somebody had some legal made to say, or someone semi-legal mate, that may be contrary. It gives you another something to chew on and rebut, but okay, more complex. Complicated was how to respond to the outright broadcast ban of next page. Sesame Street, Mississippi. Wow. This is sad. Whose members in the nearly converted state commission to educational television were opposed to show's integrated cast. During the first week of May of 1970, there was 1 week out of the state capital in Jackson, was a 5-member commission had voted 3-2 to block the show from airing on the state's educational TV system. One commissioner granted enormously by the New York Times. This is sad. Said Mississippi was not yet ready for a program in which black, Latino, and white children played together. A second commander, quoted anonymously in the Chicago Sun-Times, said the state had enough problems to face up to without adding to them. Speaking of the record, Joe Kansky called the ban a tragedy for both the white and black children of Mississippi. Yeah, I agree. The Mississippi Commission Army reversed the decision, but only after the initial ban had made national news. Wow. After the waves of attention washed over Sesame Street, the CBS Media Relations team attempted to pump up some publicly for Bob Keeshan's venturable morning program, which had begun to seem stodgy and tortuous compared to the new show, which fall it's all at 9 in May markets. In May, public scheduled an hour-long closed circuit event for TV critics and network affiliates during which Keishan from Kangaroo philosophy and took questions from Peggy Hodson, television editor of Scholastic magazine, which asked whether the success of Sesame Street have affected the show. Keishan says I'm not, and the shows were not as a complete competition. Yeah, I agree. I agree with Peggy at this point. Anyway, it was quick to resolve. However, there's cast not with standing about almost all the Sesame Street creative talents trained under him. We like to say there's over 15 years of Captain Kangaroo behind Sesame Street. Wow. Read the anonymous news. Critic Richard K. Skoll responded with a similar column on May 7th. It's no secret Keishan's feelings have been hurt by the adulation and gushing over Sesame Street. He wrote asking, and this year, the nation attending to forget the blue pioneer the fields of intelligent programming for children. The Sesame Street School continued operates out of the privileged suburb Posning with multi-million-dollar grants to ensure that it isn't tainted by advertising. The campaign is marked by the hard way, working within the hard sell work of commercialism. On August 21st, 1970, Clarence Peterson of the Chicago Tribune offered his take in his lectures as Captain Kangaroo, which Keishan was quoted in the put down the competition. Wow. Again with this stupid competition thing. When someone writes a history of television, there should be a chapter on Sesame Street as a classic case of how to promote and broadcast a television show. Wow. See what you get there, Bob Keishan? Okay. John Cooney used a quote saying credited to Sophie Tucker. I've been rich, I've been poor. If rich is better. Avery formulate and operation of my own couple of years after we've been on the air. Wow. I know success and I know failure. Wow. But success is better in some respects. Wow. I said some respects because your telephone never stops ringing. Wow. Every toy manufacturer in the world is after you. Wow. All the power people in the commercials world are trying to figure out how to cash in. How do we take this over and squeeze it to the death for all of the monies that's it, and for now. That's it now. Wow. And then throw them out became that they don't know what they're doing. Non-profit world, public television has never known this kind of success. This was this kind of professional with money making. That was the commercial world saw. And yet, getting Sesame Street on the air with no guarantee it would stay on the air. For there would be Sunset funding for the season 2, and for the core staff of Children's Social Workshop to remain employed. Excuse me. Confounded Cooney and Marset would need to move swiftly. As soon as we got on the air, we had to think about survival. Cooley said, "Wow." Okay. Marset was quite the remain Cooney that foundation like Ford and coordinate exists to see projects. Not sustained grants like some sponsor shoulders what do you call it? Naruto shots. Shoot, excuse me. And so his projects take root and bloom. From objects move on the water someone else's ideas. Wow. Children's Social Workshop needed a revenue stream. And within weeks of Sesame Street's debut, there were no storage of opportunities to capitalize on its rising philosophy. Cooney would began fielding cold calls. Wow. From marketers eager to attack the likeliness of Muppet characters onto products and engage the licensing fee in children's commercial television. Such entries, what you pronounce it, would be looked upon as manna. Wow. But in that sense, the public television, no one was quite prepared for for the toy companies things further. Not for product, Children's Social Workshop was always of combinations of television production operation, which with one power and plugged into the federal government. Another one into mega foundations, and a speaker wire hooked into NDT, National Educational Television. And then there was a not assignment further factor than Big Bird, Oscar, Burr, and Ernie were trademark characters controlled by Children's Social Workshop but owned by Jim Henson. No deal to license the market would happen. That would happen without Henson's buy-in. Professors partners these little around dealing with Children's Social Workshop, and next page, Henson would be business as usual. Wow. Okay. Was assembly. Children's Social Workshop was simply publicly unbound unknown contest provider. Wow. Okay. I see where this is going. In the administration. Okay. And staff were patchwork quilt of highly educated way to pronounce it, untested in the top and tumble of comparates. While more experience of business matters, Henson was about the service contractor to Children's Social Workshop, and initial but independent valor. That joint mission was to build and experimental television program targeted primarily to improve preschoolers, but available to all. Its success hang on whatever an audience that could to tie its shoes would tune into the channel identified on the to dial by a number beyond the target audience's range of understanding. Wow. Okay. Cooney, Morissette, and their advisors wrestled with the litigates and properties were reaching out to business partners, concluding that the industry products line would need transparency, educational in nature, and priced affordably. Business goes wherever the money is, and are proposed that it go where it isn't. Tony could told Variety in the summer of '70, the multi-million-dollar companies know that their targets are in the great economic center of society, and they're grab what want they had at either end of the concerned scale. Excuse me. Misspoke. But anyway, their aim for the middle class. That we made Sesame Street for the poor people and the gradual communities. Although we want discourage the more privileged from watching. It's not our proposed to make a child whose family would buy its book, buy a book of record for him to feel more inspired than he might be want to be at the price people in the Gale can afford. Wow. Children's Social Workshop also vowed that the tie-in products would not be advertised on Sesame Street and marketing the directory to children. Cooney stressed restraint, pressures, and caution. Wow. I did not know that. Okay. We're nearly 100% done with this book, so stand by. Okay, that's wrong. Okay. Some advisors were advertisedly immediately against any efforts toward licensing. Okay. Merchandising among them was Gene Askelnikov, we pronounce it, General Counsel for NDT, National Educational Television, and Legal Counsel of the Children's Television Workshop. Askelnikov had a fit. Cooney, recall, he said it will never make over $1 million, and you will have commercialized yourself. It's a whole way, or W way, or whatever we pronounce it. I can't say the W word, but anyway, way of doing things. Wow. Producer Sam Gibbon feared that the pursuit of deals would be corrupting a standing organization that will be more than public trust. Even Jim Henson initially steamed to resist plan to capitalize on the populariness creations. Bernie Billison, we called him, territory me in 1970. Jim and Jay came to my house on a hot summer's day I was trying to communicate them to merchandise, the Sesame Street puppeteers. Wow, puppet, excuse me. And it was like a knockdown, drag out fight. Jim like actually fight was and identified the merchandise. Um, but once I turned him, once he would as complete creative control, excuse me. Not the money would make his company fanatically. Independent. That's all he had to do. Maybe some people around him didn't want him to do it. But it was my mind. I think Jim will really want to do. I just had to give him the reason. Upon return to Los Angeles, Henson asked to meet with John Cooney. As Cooney recalled, Jim Henson brought Jay Amanat with him. Jay was her head of licensing Corporation America. He was doing some licensing for the Muppets. Jim sat down and said, "You know nothing about this, and it was wrong for you to try to do it." Jay Hillman was handled the licensing of Sesame Street, and I said, Jay Hillman is not going to go near it. This is one of the things Sesame Street is going to control totally. What we will do and not do is going to be decided product and by product, and we are going to approve everything. This is not a commercial enterprise as you understand commercial enterprises. I remember Jim saying, "But you don't know anything about it, Joan." And I said, "But we were, Jim." The first thing I did was to call Jason Emerson at Random House. Wow. I wasn't sure that he was remember me, but he picked up the telephone right away. I forgot that by then I was a famous person. After the Sesame Street publicity, in which a New York publishing would not know what Joe Ken's Cooney was, Sesame Street represented a huge political account that for Random House. Wow. I said to him, "We have to start non-broadcast materials division, and I need someone to like Jason Epperson to run it." He said, "Well, I'm not your man." Wow. But let me come help you organize it, and we'll talk about who might do it. The first decision is the Sesame Street brand involved deals so to publish series-related books that understand and amplify the charisma. Epson recommended Christopher Cherf. That inspired me to listen to Mel. The definitely high-spirited, eminently talented Mary Messieurs, son of Bennett Cherf, co-founder of Random House, and his wife Phyllis, narrator of children's imprint began books. Wow. Phyllis has famously edited the comic canon of author illustrator Dr. Zeus Geisel, the novelist Dr. Seuss. Wow. In word deed, Geisel proved not only the laughter, but was the best medicine, but what that was the right hands and the good provide pathways to learning. Shortly after the Russians launched Sputnik, there was an article in Life magazine by John Hersey. Trump said it was about the time when everyone was asking why Hyben can read but Johnny can't. Hersey suggested that one of the reasons was that reading primers used in the next page schools were so dull. And so he actually asked in prayer, why can someone like Dr. Seuss write a Palmer? It was easy enough. The Nudge let Geisel to write The Cat in the Hat in 1957. The vocabulary for which was suggested for Dr. Jeannie Simmer Cole. Wow. Okay. A timeless Harvard School of Education researcher and performance and ironic Christopher Curve said Geisel's collaboration with Cole provided a model before Sesame Street on how the top-notch educators and creative person can work together, and he noted The Cat in the Hat is very much like Sesame Street in spirit. To me, Hersey asked a similar question to the one that led to Sesame Street. Why does educational television have to do with no creativity or turn around? Why does television have no education? And I agree. I bits and pieces agree with Christopher at this point, but that's just me. Because the supplies at Ram House will allow one its talented young editors to lead the family so easily. Could concern how step he was in company's culture, but Curve, corner of the Harvard Lampoon during his days in the Cambridge, despite his first year in the job, while building a $900,000 business from nothing. As a business expanded to include toys, however, his lack of from nothing as a business expanded from I misspoke. His lack of experience in management and had Billy began to show. He asked to resign from the business side to a creative side, and his request was credited before Children's Television Workshop had firm idea who should replace him. Wow. Children's Television Workshop business experience was becomingly increasingly intimate to we needed Baldy and Jim Drake walking right next time. Cooley said, and I don't know why we hired him. He had any experience whatsoever. We went from plus $800,000 to minus $200,000 a year. He told me about the loss of I called him the next day, and I told him it wasn't working out. Yeah, I disagree with him big time. 1970 wasn't shaping up to be a great year for Emily Pearl Kaplan. Divorced, childless, not to work. She was a behind-the-scenes TV industry Gail Friday, who was a rarely faced unemployment before. Her experience tangled for the very Waffly drama during research for George C. Scott's East Side's West Side for the high variety game show Supermarket Sweep that's now on ABC and since the worst year ever 2016. Spent my weekends in the freezer, counting parks, shops, and raging fish on platters and Supermarket Sweep. She recall. I poke that little eyes their little eyes back in there and put parsley around them. Well, I lined up sausages and whatever else the contestants were going to be bidding on. I did all kinds of crazy stuff. I never done a kids show. with time in her hands. She tuned into Sesame Street one day to see for herself whatever the breakfast praise the series was receiving among her friends is justified. They said how ever it was, blah blah blah. So I turned it on, and immediately thought this is where I belong. I just knew. I began watching it twice a day. I've immersing its edge, some immersing in humor, plus its mandate to give it privileged kids. Everything appealed to me socially and politically. Politically, wow, wow. Captain what took a freelance assignment as a television talent coordinator for the Emmy Awards. I was a person who wanted to look looking for the people who say, "May I have this envelope, please?" You know, that was right around this time when I found out the technicians of the Studio 4 for Sesame Street were the same guys that I worked with. So I'm a supermarket sweep, including the camera guy, Frankie Barnum. Wow. So I read on the introduction to Roger Horn. Wow, for producer at that time, not offered to do anything they needed. Her file was bright, smart, and have a good experience, and sent me over to meet John Stone, who said, "Bright and good experience, but we don't need you. You're fully staffed in." He sent me over to Ed Palmer because I have done research for Dick Cobbett Show and East Side, West Side. Lovely interview, but again, it was bright, experiments, and fully staffed in. So I went over to editing because I have done some editing on the game show in California. Same result, I must have it about 14 interviews. Wow. I did not know that. But anyway, similarly, we pronounce it. I was doing this job for the Emmys, and Sesame Street was nominated up to the Gazoo this first season. Wow. So half of the time I was talking to John Cohn saying, please hire me. Do you need someone to sweep the floors with him? Say, gee, we just don't need anybody. The other half of the time, I was talking to him about where he was going to sit and what he should wear, and who's going to give the acceptance speech, and if Sesame Street wins an Emmy. I was talking to him a couple of times a week over a 9-month period. Wow. I literally would have done everything, and finally heard the Muppets needed somebody to sue puppets. Wow. I went over the interview wearing a dress that I had made. Wow. I did not know this, but anyway. I'm carrying the patchwork quilt, and I assume and some little dolls I made. Wow. Excuse me. The job was filled, but the interviewer picked up on how much Kaplan wanted to work on the show. Look, she said, trying to be helpful. The only thing I can find is wires. They're disparate. It's a very specific kind of rhyme charisma plus humor. She told Captain that Stone was hoping a workshop to train writers. So he called and asked Joel if I could attend and be a thought how to write for Sesame Street. By the time of this, we are on a first name basis. He said, "Look, I can't afford to do this. You've been in business for years. I taking students out for school, paying them 3 peanut butter jelly sandwiches a week. Ugh, yuck." Next page. Man, this is sad. Anyway, I said, put me on your writer's workshop a couple days a week. Then let me do the production staff for the rest of the time. And I don't care what I make. Just teach me how to do this. Stone said, alright, write me another Burt's bit and the Kermit one too. Cabin pour storage of ammunition onto the short surf of type pages. I have never written anything before, but on the obligation letter to my mother. Never anything for television. Wow. But so marinated in the 1 hour later, I was from Joan within 2 bits. And he was surprised to see me so fast. And said, "Alright, I'll call you tomorrow." After so anxious night and morning, the phone finally rang, and we read your 2 pieces with great care. We decided we don't want it to put you in the writer's workshop. So said, pausing. Cam recalled how her heart sank. I thought, S word, I'm not gonna say. What do I have to do to get on the show? Then when Stone said, your bits can go on the just as they are. They don't need the word change. We want to put you on a full-time writer immediately. Wow. Her sedative had paid off a couple weeks later. I have incredible, life-changing thrill of going into the studio and watching Jim Henson and Frank Oz performing my words. Wow. Kaplan remarried in 1972 and changed her name to Emily Per Kingsley. Wow. She got the hang of writing for Kermit, and the right observed performance of and comedy throughout the 70s. She and others were writing staff to capitalize on the frog's ability to somehow rise above madness, while seasoned stations squarely in the madness of it. Wow. By creating a journalistic guise for him, donning a trench coat in front of Kermit. A trumpeted correspondent for Sesame Street News was dispatched to cover breaking stories involving fictional characters, including the Invisible Man wearing a straw hat. Wow. Historical figures, Christopher Columbus pulled away from the dock in Spain with a dog in the towel. Wow. Classic fairy tale protagonists, villains, and victims. He was on hand to cover emergency recombination surgery on Humpty Dumpty, Hurricane Force Winds pulled off by the Big Bad Wolf, and a Star Hump Hill summit by Jack without a Jill. Wow. At the top of the bit, Kermit is caught by an open microphone confessing. I never understood why, but he goes up the hill and fetch a pail of water. Logically, water can be down at the bottom. Wow. The causally wrestling match that was taking place between Mike Dan and then his command ended on Saturday in mid-June 1970, when the top CBS programming exclusive resigned to join the nonprofit corporation, leaving behind stock options and base pay emanated at $125,000 annually. He was supposed to take a salary cut of nearly 75%. Wow. By Newsday, Long Island's Mercer Morning Tab, TV critic Marvin Kipman described the development of as the old riches on Rag's story. To Rag's story, excuse me. Dan's departure from commercial television was not completely unexpected. Wow, unexpected. Excuse me. Misspoke. Yeah, I've spoken often of getting out of and doing something for the environment of the human race. Wow. But on the Thursday before he quit, on page 1 on Variety, he had denied the intention to leave CBS. Variety had that Mike Dan put the official quantities on reports he was giving up his program BP on CBS by saying, "I'm safe and sound and not looking around." And yeah, I just felt bad for Mike at this point. But he was looking on well knowledge. It was all but a handful of board members and exclusive to Children's Social Workshop. Dan had been discussing the possibility of joining the nonprofit of vice president and assistant of Joan Cooney, the woman he had once offered a Sisters You Desire over the weekend. Word got out for that Children's Social Workshop and vision and bashful growth for Dan, establishing Sesame Street adoptions and co-productions internationally. This prompted Kidman to quit. After he sells Sesame Street in Russia and Zach, way to pronounce it. It's C. Yeah. Circle Basca, way to pronounce it. Sorry, I did not want to pronounce any country like that. He might try Mississippi when he considered too controversial to educational television. And so, the man who had a hand in developing the Dawn School at the NBC and the Dawn Television was at age 48, after 21 years in commercial network television. British National Associate and Prodigal Instance and Television Workshop. Within weeks, Dan was on the road important Sesame Street. Global conquest began in the summer of 1970 when the announcement that 38 stations agreed that the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation would be broadcasting a series of English-dominant provenance. Representatives of CBC have actually made acquired rights to Sesame Street. Wow. Under a wage agreement to Armed Forces Radio television networks, the first 130 episodes of Sesame Street were made available to children of servicemen and women in 16 annual initial countries, including Iceland, Greece, and Bulgaria and South Korea. Dan then lined up the Korean nation of Burma, Trinidad, and Tobago, followed by I'll get it to how we pronounce it. Marquis, Quango, Jamaica. That's where Bob Marley lives, by the way. Barbados and Armada. Retrospectives for the various countries and meet in the Kingston, Jamaica. Then we called school independents who could agree on a thing, even which country should have take care of sending the tapes around. Next page. Okay. Oh man. Finally, everyone agreed on Tobago. Wow. In the first years, the tapes often got lost and migrated. Wow. This is sad. Anyway, eventually it worked out, but not without a lot of headaches. A Mexican foothold came about a day after Dan dominated a co-production deal with a male as a Conga member. The principal owner of the Spanish language entertainment cultural Televisa. Wow. This is for as casual, known as El Tigre, the Tiger, became the Rupert Murdoch of Latin America, and the popular population of Clarice Berry, Clarice honking telenovela. Way to pronounce this word. Sorry, I can't speak Spanish anymore. I was aggressive and knew people around the world. Dan said I called someone I knew at the ABC network of Australia and made a quick sale. Then I called Benny Yoshida, a friend at NHK in Japan at the time. At the time, they had 4 networks. One of them devoted a dedication to programming. I've explained to him that Sesame Street was an experiment that might be copied in Japan. But also suggest it might be used there. There's ways to teach English, and that I gave to him a very good price. He gave me $250,000 to run the series of Japanese holidays. To fill the regular programming, that would be very good. Wow. Dan tangled the representative of Emina Marcos over the plan to air the show in Philippines. Oh man, please stop doing this. But anyway, Dan tangled with Representative Emina Marcos over the plan to air the show in Philippines. She dominated cut, he said, and so the French when he suggested they use a version of Sesame Street created in Ottawa. Were you talking about Mr. Dan? A French television, except Sniff. When you use a news clip in French from the Canadians, we use subtitles. You use subtitles, and I agree with that. That made programming to the Holy Land as well. It was new how to do Sesame Street better than we did. He said we have a half grand. We got into the worst spaces ever there. The greatest educator said, "Oh, you're going to make the series on Jerusalem, right? And the children are going to be wearing yarmulkes, yeah, right? And you aren't going to be shooting on high holidays, right? The people on tell Avi, and they did. It says yarmulkes. They said that we shoot the program there. Immediately, Charles Revulsion put out the money to make it on in Tel Aviv. Wow. then acquired Germany with a co-production title Simmons Stresse. The agreement with NDR Network was not without culture struck shock, said Norman Wright, the Captain Kangaroo production team member who joined Television Social Workshop to work on international program productions. Over in Germany, I kid you not, they wanted to include not gonna say the S word in the video, education on semestresse, which raised our eyebrows. White said, so with their desire to include street venture, if there was a surprise moment in the script, the German character would say "says," which means I'm not gonna say the S word in the video. Of course, they'll never say the S word on Sesame Street. Okay. Yeah, and I agree with that big time. But we have by our tongues with the Germans. Yeah. But we never would have it could not gonna say the S word education either. We will use the Burt Bonics to what the world needs now. In the American segment, wow, we use mama bears and bear cubs. They did in Germany. It was man and woman embracing. Some trail things they did in Germany, even with an epic with body parts. Wow. One day in the meeting in Germany, they were joined by 5 attractive female child development specialists. All of their doctorates on all graduates. This comes as something and the surprise to Jerry Lesser and Palmer. One said, "Well, Dr. Lesser, there was much to talk about with young criticism and ours, but could you first give us your opinion on fucking? Oh my God, I'm not gonna say the F word in the video. FOCKING, not the F word. Say that in the video. Won't say it, but anyway. Jerry doesn't mean doesn't miss a beat. I'm all for it, he said. On September 8th, 1971, the London Borough of Associated Press reported that Marshall Sims, children's program chief of the British Podcast Insist Corporation, had turned thumbs down to air in Sesame Street in Great Britain. Why? Anyway, describing the series as on criticism, some concerning Sesame Street as a dangerous extension of the use of television, criticizing what the criticizing the show's operation aims. Sim said, "Why and what answers are demand and praise, and the research report refers to program makers and aimed to change children's behavior," and I agree with that. In the same meeting with the British press, Simpson said the BBC was purchasing 2 American shows, Forger America's Adventures of Dr. Dolittle and Harlem Globetrotters. ITV's British Arbor TV service announced it would air Sesame Street on the London station as a 13-week experiment. An ITV station in Wales had screened 10 episodes of Sesame Street in the spring of '71 to test the survey to children. Adult reaction was mixed. Some found it wholesome and humorsome. Others found it vulgar. Wow. 18 months after Hey Cinderella, first filmed in Canada, Jim Henson's musical adaptation of Fairy Tale starred Kermit the Frog and the cast of unknown actors. Finally aired on the U.S. network. The success of Sesame Street likely had led ABC to pick up and broadcast a special. Wow. New York Times critic Jack Gold slammed the production the morning after it ran, diminishing it as a gruesome moderation of a classic. He was accusing Kermit of breaking faith with his PBS audience. Children's Television Workshop of cashing in Sesame Street's success, Gold incorrectly imputed that the nonprofit had a hand in the production. Both the creative team for Hey Cinderella, including Joan Stone, co-writer with John Wooden, Joe Raposo, original score. Charles Walton set design, and puppeteers Frank Oz and Jerry Nelson. The production have wrapped in 1968, well before the team was reunited with the work on Sesame Street. The wise guy Kermit on of Hey Cinderella, a person singularly more Sandor than his premier one on Sesame Street, provided the lead in two commercials for the hot special. Very soft goal was a music the frogs handlers of composing the characters. I'm turning way to pronounce it, but anyway, um, um. Oh man, where was I? Yes, he was speaking for the home of viewer we raised objections about one of the most viewable where stars of public television suddenly serving the as an ability as pitchman for cigarettes on his home screen, as Kermit himself might have said, "What the hey?" And I agree with Kermit. 2 days after the review appealed, Henson defended Children's Television Workshop in his puppet and let it go. Yeah. April 13th, 1970. Dear Mr. Gold, in your April 11th review of our special Hey Cinderella, you made an expulsion, which I believe it's a report is correct, because there was several people from the Sesame Street staff involved in the production of this special. You referred that they and Kermit the Frog, who was very close to my heart, was capturing of the success of Sesame Street as it sold out the commemoration. Kermit the Frog is a Muppet I made over 10 years ago and had used on many network shows and commercials for the past 10 or 12 years. Wow, okay. Actually, it was 15 because when you did it when you wrote this note. By the way, about half my income had been decided from producing Muppet commercials. They have been most often been for adult products. At most of my work historically been adult. However, since the advent of Sesame Street, my own interest and concern for children's television, I'm a member of Action for Children's Television. I have become a great deal more celebric and have turned down many horrific offers that seem to be trying to capitalize Sesame Street. R.J. Reynolds, the sponsor of Hey Cinderella, and the agencies were quite respectful of my feelings, and I agree with that. On this, and I agreed that Kermit the Frog and Rufus, a dog puppet, who had also appeared on Sesame Street, who would not be promoted on merchandising in any way that would like to them to a commercial product. The Children's Television Workshop is a very dedicated group of people who function with the highest sense of intelligence with mistaking attention. I mean, to simple, excuse me, most of explanations to those people is not only but potentially quite damaging to the job they are doing. Wow. As myself, I don't intend to leave commercial television. I agree with that. This is where the Muppets and I have worked for many years. This is what it comes for commercial TV. This makes my participation in educational television possible. Well, try is to do what I have tried to do on Sesame Street this season. That is to work with a degree of gravity and responsibility to the children of the country. Yours truly, Jim Henson. Wow. At these controversy Swift, Joan Cooney gave her creative team extraordinarily forward and support. Only once merely reversing the decision after we learned during this test show period that Gore and Susan were to be married romantic partners. Yeah, it's sad. She's calling Dave Connell, Jen Stone, and Sam Gibson a demands change. I said, good Lord, marry them, and I agree with that. Goonies we call they're clearly mommy and daddy on the show. Yeah, I agree with that. White model and sound marriage for over target viewers, and I agree with that. Stone scribbled fiercely on the pit pad. Gibbons nodded. Connell remained unworried placed, but his gut cousin Cooney had violated her promise to always approach him first with a complaint. And never to demand his offer. He did speak to her for a week afterward. I certainly was involved to a decision that Susan was going to be a behave like parents. Yeah, a housewife. Excuse me. Cooley said we wanted them all to involve adults who behave like parents. We who are involved in the community, even though they didn't have a child in the time. Gordon was a teacher involved in community. Susan was a homemaker. Yeah. Exactly. Little was made in the fact that they were co-owners of the brownstone. Landlords Burn Ernie. Wow. Small but vocal chorus. White females but wrangled by the perpetrators of Susan, who they saw as substance buyers, the buyers of milk and cookies. At first, the spire was privately shared. Barbara the Cooney, and their producers, but then members of the National Organization for Women took their dispute public after season 1, threatening the boycott of General Foods, which had pledged coordinate support to outreach programs for Sesame Street. The immigration came to a head in April of 1972 when Cooney wrote to NOW President Wilma Scott Hearty, the way you pronounce it, both depth in the harmony of business equality pose. It was a bee's nest and rebuttal. It was some highlights. Number 1, happy as I am here for you, the other member of now about the importance of the females movement and the pool of females. Turn the page, okay. Um, on television, I can help. But we remain the story about Claire Booth, Luce, visiting the Pope, and his being overhead to say, but Mr. Luce, I already am a called leg, and I agree with that. To summarize, I'm with you. However, Miss Grant West friend the letter to General Foods had last year, and her recent friend to our friend letter to Joan Stone. I mean, really set the females cause of back in the organization such threats and the recent letter writing campaign only commemoration that I must work very hard to spill. It seems a waste of energy. Number 2. I don't know how useful it took to look at Sesame Street solely through hold on one sec, I gotta quickly do this because I have difficulties. Stand by. Okay, let's see where it's going. Next. Okay, I don't know how useful it is to look at Sesame Street solely through Phineas Highs when Query is trying to do a number of things for young children. We were consider our primary aim of researching and teaching the disadvantaged child life and death matter. For education demands whatever frees disadvantaged youngsters in there and comic mainstream American life or not. Wow. While we certainly don't object to having faults pointed out to us, and God knows everyone is doing it. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I thought it was 10 for some reason, but anyway, I wonder if now is really performing a service of concentrating so much public attention and energy on one of the few really decent programs with young children on television. Perhaps you're not aware that preschool television children watching the 8 hours a day, and that is a number of badly, I'm not gonna say the S word, commercials and situations comedies they are exposed during that time. It is not to believe. Further, I don't know of a single cartoon that is popular with children that portrays females than Dolby. Meddling and objects of ridicule should now begin to address itself to the male-dominated media of commercial TV and advertising that have created the situation on television, which brainwashes children day and then a day out, and year in year out. Number 3, I continue to be disturbed by the strong belief held by some prominent whites and well as blacks. Wow. And that's the feminist movement. Wow. And now it's a perpetrator is displaying anti-black attitudes. In the recent letter to me, Miss N.C. Hell said the majority of now members that have discussed Sesame Street with LaField and the charge that change have not occurred have fast as they would like to see. And the program has shown greater responsibilities, the needs of blacks than women. Wow. Number 4. Perhaps Mrs. Hall is not aware that Sesame Street was funded to serve the needs of savage children in the country, with particular evidences in the inner city poor. Naturally, then the needs came first. Through, I see no conflict between their needs and common goals. On Sesame Street, we acknowledge that we can and should change our potential of women and girls in service. But we don't like to see the issue cast in racial terms, not compared to the nightmare racism and poverty. Yeah, I agree with that. Last one, yeah, number 4, yeah. And sorry, black stuff, man, woman, yeah. Harbor prevents against the feminist movement. When it speaks in such terms, making it more difficult for us to achieve our material aims. Wow. It wasn't just angry feminists were just challenging children's social workshop. Evident Davis was amused by enraged asthmatic additives one more in San Antonio, Texas, where the outreach director had hardly expected such a welcome, where she and her staff arranged to meet with Hispanic leaders were such from across the country. Texas seemed the logic midpoint from the gathering through the major province with West Coast residents. I kept asking the person who were working on for me, "Are you sure there would be no problems? What was their agenda?" Children's Social Workshop have received a grant from the Department of Education to produce translations of Sesame Street in Spanish. As a production of this award, the workshop, I don't know what's going on, but anyway, where was I? Anyway, the workshop has to formally activate the program with the Hispanic community and plan the foundation television station, former television station. Excuse me. Anyway, after being this, after the meet, would pose nor your overseeing challenges. Davis rounded up a large convention of representative natives from production. Wow. Research and outreach. All went currently during an open night reception. The Children's Social Workshop people said, "Oh, this is wonderful." Davis recalled, but when we got the meeting set site the next morning at 9, the doors were locked. Someone came out and told me they were wanting to delay the meeting. They were going to come causes spurs. Well, say that we don't know each other very well. So like to meet. We all call you Ray. Wow. I thought, okay, that seems logical. They were causing to get the common agenda, among themselves. In those days, Russians, Persians, and Koreans, and all different groups didn't talk to each other that much. So in order to face the enemy, they need a common voice that to strain out the logic stuff among themselves, which took all day. They wouldn't let us in all evening and all the next day. By the end of the second day, they called me up to say they wanted to speak to Jonathan Scooney. I'm explaining her. I said, we're not going to talk to you. We don't only talk with her. I said, you have to tell me what this is about. Then they started making demands. They would not listen, and they would not talk to me. You might as well go home, they said. We're not talking to with anybody here. Next page. Wow. This is, anyway, they called the president, and I called John Bob Hatch and told them that wasn't developing. Hatch recommendation that was Joe flying back and forth. I was terminated their demands to Joe, and I got responses back from them. Unacceptable, totally wow. It would end up in their demand a meeting in New York at Children's Social Workshops, expense to talk about their demands. Joe agreed with that. Wow. I told those making demands that though these were have been a meaning haven't been with me. I was if it haven't been with me, yeah. Okay, I misspoke on these words. Sorry. I was angry because they did not recognize that. What are you doing? I asked them. I was trying to bring you in, and you were shutting me up, acting like I'm the enemy. New York, Mean, and Cooney's office where Rachel stood in. She said they screamed and yelled a lot. The protests were not only legitimate. Sesame Street had made no intro effort to include an evident character, human or otherwise, but they were timely. Wow. No agency in the government were focusing on the needs of the bourgeois economy, Davis said. They were after the civil rights movement riots. Wow. So the question was, how do you get in to keep the black folks quiet? The Latinos were saying, well, we didn't riot, and we didn't have even less. We were totally left out, and we're not going left out anymore. Sesame Street was seen as something dear to all children. All segments of the population thought they needed to be represented, and that were children had needs, so that would be addressed. Since the money was in a totally federal, they thought they had a right to insist upon inclusion. Children's Social Workshop did become sensitive in those needs of the company after that, and they tried to adjust to them. The amount of noise make a difference. Sometimes there was the only way to get someone's attention. Within a few months after the launch of Sesame Street, Roy Marset called Joan Cooney, start talking about developing a read program. You got to do a second show. I wanted to say, give me a break. Joey recalled, but Lloyd was right. We have to get going on something near New White, and we have nomination. Every publicity acute and savvy about ebb and flow of federal funding. Marset took Dad aim and segue topic First Lady Frederick Nixon's pet project with right of breed program. Marset lined up his contacts and connections he had set with Sesame Street. Wow. Sid Marland was by the Communist of Education, and then became under security of HEW with education. Colony said Sid was a friend of Lloyd, became a friend of mine. So the government VA said Mossland said find more money. Some $7 million of family raised for Children's Judge Workshop Green Project. Bankroll once again with Carney, Aid, and Ford Foundations when the U.S. Office of Education, under the guidance of top green experts, a correlation was researched and tested. A contest term led by executive producer Dave Connell, producer Sam Gibbon, and associate producer Niall Bonner was commended. Bonner worked alongside head writer Tom Whedon, whose son Josh later created television directory the dramatic Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Wow. First, they hated attended debate attended. Excuse me. The corporation surrenders with the series as Democratic advisors. Wow. Including Harvard's Ginny Call argued the merits of using phonics to teach reading over the word method. We avoid a bass of solid algebra. Wow. By saying it was a radical program, not a show to reach reading for the began. It was for viewers aged 7 to 9 who was having trouble. Cooney said that was give us maximum freedom. Lightning struck twice. The electric company was a cast that it could Bill Cosby of Jesus Christ and did whoever that was. Rita Monroe and Morgan Freeman was an instant hit. We were so scared the press would say it's fine, but it was not Sesame Street, we called Cooney, but nobody said that. Wow. Critics hailed the new show's concert of using sketch comedy to explore the requirements of Reed, with such resolving characters of easy reader, Israel Van Freeman, and a hipster who can't resist Reed, and I agree with that. The director of Marshall as a Hollywood tyrant who enjoyed pushing things on the set, who was a writing cop. And Fargo North, the director Skip Hillman as a slightly dense detective who scrambles tasks. The soap opera's priority, love of chair, always cool with the question, and what about nominee, an objective to represent this show's associate producer. At the time, I found the show kind of tasteless. Wow. Cooney said. Some of the sketches worked and some were. As we kind of edgy. He sat there during the sketch and waited for the payoff, but the payoff wasn't that very good. I was very used of sweet little Sesame Street, and not all used to be sentimentality of 7 to 9-year-olds. But Dave, Sam, and Nominee understood who is what was for. So did Weston. Dave Conn was at first recalling, but I was convinced of him there was nothing funnier. It's funnier to a 9-year-old boy than a guy with a gorilla suit. Wow. Weldon said, Interpol, the gorilla, a student of language, and then turn the page. Upright consistent. Paul provided ample advantage that the Darwin sometimes they go backward. At the time, Cooney came across around the impression the ape strict I now think electric comedy was more brilliant than Sesame Street in its way, she says. By 1972, she had plenty of money for Sesame Street and then plenty of money for electric company, Cody said. Sid Mohammed couldn't have been more supportive. I remember calling its office so one day. Their grant wasn't due for a few weeks, and I left word for that we would have borrow $1 million to make it through. There was a court check the next day for $1 million. He said for those people, why should they be paying interest on the loan? Let's advance it. Excuse me. We were during the federal government for a brief period for 2 or 3 years. Wow, that was easy. But then the Nixon advertisement moved against public television. They wanted public television to not put used to do public affairs. They were really trying to put put it all out of business. Wow, they wanted it to become local only. So PBS was on a contract fight with the Nixon administration. I remember one the Nixon Hatcher man said to me, I'll never forget how he said this president does not want to be federally funded programming of any kind. They weren't anti-Sesame Street. They were anti the principle. Wow. Sad, no. We were largely federally funded. We were which was very dangerous. You got into government spending endless how much you can spend per night in the hotel and so forth. If you're 100% funded, I remember 14-hour days. Wow, I went home exhausted every night. I was sometimes woozy that walking out. I wasn't clear how to make it through. We had about no problems getting children's television workshop spots. Started getting Sesame Street electric comedy on the air. Then suddenly we have enemies. All these powerful forces were against us and wanted to see if us curb. I couldn't believe it. It disturbed me. Then this argument was, why did you put your shows into repeat? Wow. Your audience gratitude unsuitable, but we knew that every show that goes into the repeats dies. Wow. On the other hand, by then were powerhouse in this country, and I had become an insult weapon. The potential of my having the press conference and explain that the government would not support Sesame Street was always hanging over the government. Bob Hatch understood that he had decided early to let the press build me up, saying that that's what the press wants will make her strong enough so it was very hard for the government to take her on. I did become a singular weapon in the 1970s when we were under assault by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the government was trying to pull the funding out. It was sad. Anyway, you couldn't understood what was going on and what was the motive war. So Lloyd and I went to capture Weisser, who was secretary of HEW. He was not very forthcoming, and I think he was probably caught up in the politics. Yeah. So I went to Barry Goldwire. He had known my family in Arizona. I told him that we were based out federal funding, that we were the 6-year program that we show some point electric company would go into repeats. Chosen Sales Workshop costs would slowly descend and price and income would rise. So that by 1980 or 1981, we free clear. He did not take a note. He did not have a in the room. He then wrote a letter to Weinsberger saying exactly what I told him. He wrote, "Dear Cappy, Joan Kensley had explained to me what she wants. Her father becoming one of my oldest friends and commandants, way to pronounce it. Wow. My father has been dead many years, but Goldwater did eventually, as you could think, he was still alive," Cooney said. He said, never gave the little Cooney Joni Cans anything she wants. In addition to Barry's letter, Caroline Charles was one of the very major woman board members of PBS, got wound up in what was happening, and contrary to Weinsberger at HEW's, they said some old lady in San Francisco got in touch with Caps and that all in what that was to it. So Cappy then took Barry's letter and our request and said we would do it their way. Children's Television Workshop gave its own line in the federal budget, which enraged supporters in Washington in the Office of Education and the hutchery of PBS, but realized recessions in New York of Cooney and Margaret. So that was chapter 14. What do I think about this chapter? I took 2 hours of this book, chapter of this book, and it was so sad to see some parts and most happy times from this book to read. And that will episode for that will episode 15 of book reviews. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one, which is gonna be chapter 16 of the book, which I'll be reading coming up next. Till next time, LukeJ62895's, goodbye, peace out, baby. We can't work business, guys, very soon. Till then, Jefferson out. See ya.